This is Corey, CheekyCP, and this is how I made this beat. I'm just going to let the track rock, and then I'm going to come back and tell you how I put this together. So here we go. Let me make sure I got all the right shit muted, though. Okay, we got everything muted. Here we go.
My wild love went riding, she rode all the day. My wild love went riding, she rode all the day. My wild love went riding, my wild love went riding, my wild love went riding, she rode all the day. My wild love went riding, my wild love went riding, my wild love went riding, she rode all the day. My wild love went riding.
All right. Okay, great. So that is my track. So I'm going to break it down and show you how I made this beat. So again, it's the Doors challenge. I sampled 3 Doors songs here. And in fact, I did something really, really special this week and actually enlisted some help from an actual singer, someone who could actually sing. Because if you watch any episode from week 1 through week 6, I kept saying, hey guys, I'm not a singer. And I would still sing with the idea of what I had in mind. But, the idea was if you pass that, melody to someone who could actually sing, then you could get something like this, right? So a couple of things. So the beats that I sampled were Strange Days. I took the organ, and that's actually what I soloed at the very end. It's just the organ sample from Strange Days. It's the intro to that song. And it was really, I couldn't get anything really clean. So I actually had to replay that on my MIDI keyboard and just use an organ sample. So throughout the song, it's not the recording that's being sampled. It's me playing the organ. So I took that intro and just time stretched it and had it fit within this BPM. The other sample I took was from a song called My Wild Love, which I was listening to so much Doors music, and this track was just completely, it was something I haven't heard before, and it was really wild. I'm not going to play it because we don't want to get this part muted on YouTube, but I would go and listen to this track because it's wild. It's just, there's really no instrumentation. It's just a bunch of dudes kind of chanting, and what they're singing is My Wild Love Went Riding. Huh. And they just keep going, and it's kind of this cool, really interesting chant. And I took that and pitched it way up high, and you hear that in the very beginning of the song.
My wild love went riding, she rode all the day. My wild love went riding.
So I took those 2 chops, pitched it way up, and put it into a specific key. And then I enlisted the help of an amazing singer-songwriter. Her name is Hayley Fahey, and she's from the Maryland area over close to DC. So big shout out to Hayley Fahey. I'm going to let everybody know how you can get a hold of her. It's on my background. You can see the shout outs. I'll make note of that again. So Hayley, she's great. She does a lot of music, and you could actually reach out to her if you are looking for her for vocals or anything like that. If you're making beats and you want to enlist some help from a great singer, I highly suggest Hayley. But she's a friend of mine, and she's great. So that's her vocals. I took everything I chopped. I actually created the whole track, and then I had Hayley sing everything over. And then the last sample is from another Doors track where you hear him say, come on, come on, come on. And that's come on, now touch me, babe. Da-da-da-da. So I just chopped that and use it as kind of like the hype man throughout the whole beat, just doing the come on. But there are a lot of tracks, so I'll try to get through this really quick. So we got really some basic drums, kind of like what P was doing where he has 3 elements. I kind of just really have 3 elements on my drums. It's just essentially the kick, the hi-hat, and an 808 and a snare, right? So kind of like 4 elements is what I'm rocking with on the drums. And I'm just going to solo that just so you can kind of hear what's going on there. And that's really it. That's pretty basic, right? We're just using an 808 as a bass, basically, and we're having that kind of build the song. I did not play the bass guitar on this track, which I have been doing on all the other tracks, right? So it's just basic drums here, right? And then the Strange Days organ sample, I replayed that, and I used a plugin by, again, gospel musicians, their plugin called Platinum Synth. I forgot what it's called. PSP is what I refer to it as. So that's part of the intro to Strange Days. Strange Days starts way quicker, but now we're entering the realm of, instead of taking the sound recording and chopping it, which is how I built the song. After I had the whole song built, I thought that the sample sucked, like it just was a bad quality. So I had to replay it. Now, when you replay it and you don't use the actual sound recording, you enter the world of what they call interpolation or replay. And that gets you out of some legal issues, right? Because you're not sampling from a sound recording. You are actually just replaying an idea, right? So I replayed most of that intro. And then at the end, you could hear me kind of freak it a little bit, kind of do a little dee-doo. Right, so I mess with it, right? So that's the first thing I replayed. The second thing I replayed was what Jim Morrison is singing, where he says, my wild love, I'm riding. She rode all the day, hey, right? But I had Hayley replay that, and that's how we got to this chorus here.
My wild love went riding, my wild love went riding, my wild love went riding. She rode all the day. My wild love went riding, my wild love went riding, my wild love went riding. She rode all the day.
And then I had that kind of just broke it down a little bit because I was thinking someone needs to rap over the verses. So what I did was I have her sing the same type of thing. But I mess with it a lot, and I use some different fundamentals I want to talk about on when we do the technique episodes. I want to break down what I did here. So I'm just going to quickly play this.
My wild love went riding. She rode all the day. My wild love went riding.
So you get that reverse reverb, right? So it's, and then you hear her sing, which sounds really, really trippy and really cool. And I played with that with the verse. So I was thinking someone's going to be rapping over these 12 bars or 16 bars, and just left her kind of pan to one side. Other than that, I created a lot of different melodies, and I used some different plugins. The synth plugins I used, I just was playing with it. This is the key of A flat. And it was really, really fun just to kind of pan one synth to the left speaker, pan one synth to the right speaker, and have them come in at different times. And I'll play that. So synth heavy, almost sounds like some guitar lines are being played, and it's really fun. The other thing I added was a pad section using another plugin called Layer, Layr. And again, I'm using an iPad. I'm using Beatmaker 3, and this plugin is amazing. They got some really, really cool keys. The plugin, it's like $20 or $25, but I just splurged one day and said, let's mess around with this. And you can hear it. So real heavy on the reverb and everything, but it's fun if you just kind of push that way in the back and it creates like a pad level that's kind of wavy in the background. Okay, that's most of it. The rest is Jim Morrison just kind of telling us to come on throughout the whole track. Come on. And then the other thing that I added was some flute. So I'm going to play the flute, and the flute is really fun. I think flute is like just, it's almost overdone now, I'd say, on like, you know, modern contemporary hip hop stuff. But it's fun because it kind of lays really high in the mix, and you could add and play with the different melodies that you're creating. So this is one of them. All right. And then the last thing I did was, I talked about this last week. We did like an episode just talking about techniques. And this technique I used was where I resampled something that I already created within the beat. So the beat was made, and I'm thinking, well, how can I do something different, like a bridge or something? And I took the drums and I bounced them down, added a million different effects onto it, and changed the envelope filter. So I had the low pass filter kind of sweeping, right? And you kind of are able to break down the beat pretty heavily and create something like this. So this happens like after you hear the chorus. So you kind of drop the beat completely down to the ground. You're like in the basement, in a hallway. It's super reverby and it's way in the back. And that allows you to do something. So you could imagine like a vocalist kind of like breaking down the beat, saying, talking, maybe doing some spoken word shit or whatever. And that's the base of the beat that I made. I do want to talk later when we have a session just talking about techniques. I want to break down a little bit further about the reverse reverb that I used here, which when you zoom in and just look at what that is, I'm going to solo it really quick. You can hear. So I had that leading up to where she says, she wrote all the day, right? So that's really, really fun and really easy to do on any DAW. Any DAW you're using, Ableton, whatever, Beatmaker 3, Logic, anything. You're essentially just recording something and you're flipping it, just the reverb portion of it, and then you're putting that in the first part and like bringing it forward on the track. So the reverse reverb trick is in here, the resampling is in here, and I'm actually replaying those parts when we talk about what Hayley did on the vocals and then what I did on the organ. So a lot of fun stuff here, and that's really my track.